Hey guys, welcome back. Bolt Spider here, and today I have an interesting topic for you guys. Now, I was going to record this yesterday, but I got super busy, then I didn't want to record because I fell into a mood. But today we're going to be talking about floodgates and cards alike. So, in this format, we're seeing more and more floodgates appear, like one of the cards right now up on screen. And I feel like we've now headed into this type of format that really doesn't seem that much fun. So to get started with it, we're going to go through each archetype and what they're running, or what they can run. So first off, you have the Arch Nemesis Protos. This is ran in Sword Soul, and pretty much any deck can run it if you're running more than one attribute. You declare one monster attribute on the field, destroy all monsters on the field with that attribute, and until the end of the next turn, neither player can special summon monsters with that attribute. So this is actually a very powerful card, and I know the power behind it because I used to play this card, and it is really a game ender depending on what type of deck you're running. So if you're playing this into Phantom Knight, they're going to be pretty much dead for the whole entire turn that they can't even do anything. And then you also have other decks that can run this, like Tri Brigade. They're running Fire, Wind, Earth, and that does hurt a lot of other decks. So if they Nerval, you can, if they have Nerval and they summon this, they could call Wind and Flundries, Lyralist. Those are just dead in the water. And this card just counters very specific decks, and it can be played in almost every single deck that there is, which is very scary. And its brother, the other arch nemesis, is Shadows. This is based on monster type, so it really depends on which one you really need to do. Protos banishes for type or attribute, a Shadows banishes for type, and you just call a type and neither player could summon that type for the rest of the turn, which is still very scary. But locking out of an attribute we've seen before with things like True King of all calamities and all that. And the other card that Sword Soul is playing is Chaofing, and you could do some weird plays with this if you're running a 10 Yangzing build, if you're running Yangzing tuners. So I think it's the level 1 that they can run, and they'd be 100% fine. But if you use Yangzing monsters for the synchro summon of this card, your opponent's locked out of those attributes. So if you're using Abaxia, they're locked out of light. Where if you use Yazi, you're locked out of dark. And there's just so much that you could do with this. And this could be a future problem, but I don't really see it being much as a problem outside of something like Baxia, where you summon Moye, get your token, synchro summon effect of Baxia because it's a win, so it goes first. Then Moye is an optional, so you get to draw. So you get 2 bounces and or 1 bounce and a draw. Or if you summon Tae, you banish this card and you get 2 bounces, which is very strong for a deck like this. And I could see them pivoting and hitting other cards outside of Sword Soul because they're still too new. But we'll see what happens on that. Next up, we have Flundries, Bird Up, whatever wind deck that there is. So we're going to be talking about Empen first. This card is absolutely insane because while this tribute summon card is in the main monster zone, your opponent cannot activate the effects of special summon monsters they control in attack position. So you're forcing your opponent to summon in defense. And also with this deck, it's just a... Is it just a calamities for special summon attack monsters? Or is there another card I can compare it to? Because this is a Floodgate on legs, and it has a battle effect that allows you to banish a card from your hand, and the opponent's monster's attack and defense becomes halved. So if they try and attack, have fun. And the other card that they're running is Barrier Statue of the Stormwind for any other wind deck because they're running some Morglink, and it's very powerful. This goes in hand with all the other barrier statues, but right now Stormwinds is the strongest one of the bunch because the reason it is summonable from deck, while the others, not so much. I don't believe they are, but don't quote me on that. Overall, so far we've talked about easy to deal with floodgates, but now we're going to get into a little of the odd ones that there is. We have Artifact Scythe. A lot of decks have started to include Artifact Scythe, Artifact Dagda, and Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. And this combo right here pretty much goes around 2 interruptions if you're able to. So if you could pop Scythe without using DPE, summon the Scythe, and it gets hit by an Imperm or a Droplet, you have to chain something to the Droplet, of course, first. If they send a monster, then you could use DPE destroying Scythe and Dagda. But if they have something like an Imperm, you could just destroy Phoenix Enforcer, pop the Scythe, pop the Dagda. Dagda revives the Scythe in a separate chain. So you're locked out of Scythe, which is kind of dumb. And people have been actually asking for Artifact Scythe or Dagda to get hit. In my opinion, if they hit Dagda, it really doesn't do anything, because they could just run more Scythe, and that's all they wrote. But people, I would say, have been saying Artifact Scythe is a card that should get banned, because it limits what you can do, since the game is now more extra deck heavy than what it was back in 2014-15. And I do have to say, I agree, because I went up against my friend and he was playing Phantom Knight, and it was just boring to go against. Like, there's really no interaction between them because they could go through 3 hand traps. And no deck should really be that resilient, like how Dragon Link was back in 2019, 2020, and early this year. But I definitely think Artifact Scythe can just go out of the format, because it always pops up and it always makes people frustrated. Don't know why this is still really legal, even though we hadn't triple Artifact Scythe, Zank them, 1 moral attack. But other than that, this trio is a very deadly trio to look out for. So if they summon out the Dagda, you're pretty screwed if you don't have 2 Imperm just to deal with it. After that, we have things like Mystic Mine. This card really dropped off of everyone's radar, while only a few decks still run it. I still don't see it getting hit at all, but it still can be a problematic Floodgate, depending on what type of format we head into afterwards. But it all really depends what the January format's going to look like, or all of that. Then after, we have a prominent one, which is there could be only one type of one of each type of monster. This really doesn't affect Tri-Brigade. It doesn't really affect that many decks, but when it is activated, it hurts quite a bit. Being able to control how many types there are on the field really does hurt, but if you're running something like Prank Kid or Tri-Brigade, it really doesn't matter. Sure, it does mess up your combo a little, but Prank Kid can run right around it. Tri-Brigade can, but they have to be very careful on how they do it, where you have to go into a Rugal, then go into Bear Room, then summon out something else, but it's really, really easy to go around. And then finally, we have Imperial Order. This, people still complain about this, but it really has dropped off quite a bit since we have newer decks, and you really don't need to out it anymore, since most decks don't really run that many spells anymore. And this card warped that side of deck building. And finally, I'm just going to be talking about this. Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. It has warped the format where almost everyone is running it. And that is a bad sign, because if everyone's running it, it's going to be in 90% of decks. So, and we've seen this happen in the OCG already, where almost 90% of the decks is just Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer engine. So that is 100% a thing that they could probably hit in the future, but not right now because it's brand new and they have some time to deal with it. With the outside engine, maybe they might hit Fusion Destiny because usually Ultimate Rares and OTS packs have a higher chance of getting hit. But anyways, I want to know your guys' opinions on the whole Floodgate issue. There is quite a bit of them in the format, and what do you think we should do with some of them? But anyways, I've been Bolt Spider. I hope you guys did enjoy, and see you guys in the next video.